Okay, everybody. What I want to talk to you about today is the use of AI, and more specifically, the poor use of AI. And so, what I'm seeing a lot of places when we go out on the internet, you see a lot of people using AI to create content, and they post it, and it's getting somewhat obvious at this point when you're using AI to create content because it's I think some of the giveaways are is that the language is overly flowery or overly, verbose. Content's often much longer because nobody had to actually sit and write it, so it just kind of spit it all out. So that's an issue. And the real issue, the deepest issue with it is that it might look good on paper, but it's not sales copy ready, right? And so, in other words, it's not super effective when it comes to converting people or giving them the information that they need. And so, I want to warn you that if you're tinkering with AI and you're not using it properly, you can drive customers away. There's been a couple of studies at this point. This is the best graphic that I've seen. That one bad AI experience is enough to turn customers off. And when you think about how hard it is to acquire a customer these days, you really are risking a lot if your AI is not functioning properly, if you're going to use it and it's not going to create content the way you want. So what I want to do today, I want to show you an example of a client that used some AI stuff that they wrote versus kind of the revisions that we helped them make and why it didn't work and why it's better. I just thought this would be better to go into specifics rather than just speaking in generalities about it. And this is not to pick on this client at all. I've taken their name out of this just so that we don't get into that. It's not really about, calling anybody out or anything because this client was doing their best. They thought, they were using the tool correctly. So it's not about that. It's really just about kind of the generality. So here we go. So the objective of this post that they did, and this post was used for an ad. This was a social media post. And the objective was to get people to book a seat on their boat for a boat parade, a Christmas boat parade. So they had a special entry in the boat parade. You could buy a ticket and get on there. So that was the post. So if I'm just going to read it here through you so you can see, join the jolly celebration at the Christmas boat parade and this is their boat name's taken off. So this is when it was, and it gave you dates, times, and location. And this is obviously the client's information was here. Get ready for a magical evening filled with twinkling lights and festive cheer at our annual boat parade. Watch as a flotilla of beautifully decorated boats transforms the water into a dazzling winter wonderland. You'll be on the boat enjoying the parade. Event highlights, spectacular light displays, marvel at the stunning array of lights, kids' activities. So here you go. Mark your calendars and gather your friends and family for a night of festive fun and community spirit. We can't wait to celebrate the holiday season with you. Happy holidays. Okay, this is the quintessential AI post. It looks good. It's got cute emojis. It's got nice spacing. It's got bullet points. It's got all kind of cool sounding light, stunning array of lights, and it's got dazzling, and it's got magical and festive. So this looks like a really effective ad. But the thing is it's not. When you look at this ad and what's wrong with it, number one, you got to do a lot of reading to really try and understand what they're trying to do here. So is this an ad just for people to go see the boat parade in general? Is this a public announcement? Like if you looked at this, you almost couldn't tell if it was written by like the city or county, wherever it was, if this was to promote it, if this was somebody it's vague. And then there's no direct call to action here in terms of like tickets are this price, buy your ticket now, right? There's none of that. And so when you think about like from a social media standpoint, people are going to look at the first one and look at this and go, join us for the jolly celebration. Like this is vague. And so then the other thing you kind of look at it, you go, there's a lot of repetitive stuff in here. So magical evening, twinkling lights, beautifully decorated boats, event highlights, more spectacular light displays, kids' activities, fun-filled surprises. We don't know what that is. Mark your calendars. So we'll get to the end here. Let's say I've read the whole thing. Mark your calendars and gather your friends. there is no direct call to action in here. And so this is very typical of what we see with the AI, and that you tell them, okay, here's my event details, write a post. And this is what comes out. So the client posted this, got absolutely no feedback, no nothing. So we went and looked at it. So what we did is we help them rewrite it. And here's the rewritten part. And you'll see here, ride in the location where it was, ride in the Christmas boat parade aboard our boat for just $149. Okay, and whether or not 149 is the right price or whatever, doesn't matter. My point is when you compare this opening line, ride in the boat parade aboard our boat for just 149 versus this, join the jolly celebration, you see this is a much more direct thing. And so even if somebody doesn't ever get past this first line or two, they'll see it. And then in this case, it's a holiday experience you'll never forget. Okay, I want a holiday experience aboard a boat to do something I've never done. So this is much more clear to the point. And in this case, we've got plenty of room for a couple or all of your friends and family aboard the boat name, right? Because this, again, doesn't say who's invited, how many people can come, any of that. And I know this was a big boat. So tickets are going fast. We created a little scarcity here because there is limited spacing on the boat. So it wasn't an unlimited spot. Again, none of that is in here. So we've got a direct call to action, a very specific outcome, and then some scarcity here. Now we've got underneath here, we've got, you'll be part of the action, right? So, because the other one was saying like, you can kind of look at it. So if you look at it, it's like, watch as a flotilla transforms the water into, like, this doesn't say you'll be on the boat, right? It doesn't specifically say that. So if you come in here, you'll see, you'll be part of the action as a flotilla of boats transforms the water. So we kept some of the basic stuff that they had written, but I put in here, because you'll be riding in the parade. So spectacular light displays, kids activities, which is, if a parent's trying to book a ticket, they just want to see if there's something for the kids to do. Whereas in this kid, fun surprises for the little ones to keep the holiday spirit soaring. Like that's a lot of fluff to say nothing. So kids activities, check. Mark your calendars, gather your friends. We can't wait to celebrate. And then end with, if I'm still reading, get your tickets now. And here's how you get your ticket, right? So this is a good example. So we took this and reran this ad over 2 days, and this ad had 80 or 90 comments, a bunch of shares, and a ton of likes and activity. So this ad went from nothing to something because we got much more specific with what it was doing and much less flowery in the language. And that's where you get into, the danger of what AI can do is it's going to create like what content that looks nice, but not really content that is useful. So the first thing I'm going to tell you, in terms of how to use ChatGPT to get better output is, number one, is to actually read what comes out. I can't tell you how many times I've had people send me stuff that they just spit it out and copied it and pasted it and sent it over. And I think the reason is because we're all busy. You're busy, I'm busy, everybody's busy. So ChatGPT did it. It looked accurate. It looked like content. And this looks like a social post about this event. So it looks right. Send it over. But you got to actually read it. And I think you have to read it with critically, to see if it's something you want to do. And then in terms of the next step is to train it by giving it your feedback. And so, as you get something back from ChatGPT, you can tell it, this is fine, but I need you to make this more direct, or I need you to be less flowery, or that sort of thing. And so that's part of the ongoing training that you need to give it in terms of, refining what comes out, because if you just accept what it gives you, it's going to keep it light and fluffy and non-specific. And it's because it doesn't know any better. It's not because GPT doesn't work. It's because it's like a super smart person, but they have no common sense. So they need to be told clearly everything what needs to be done. And then the third thing, is learning how to create a custom GPT. And, when you come into ChatGPT now, if you've got a pro plan, you can create a GPT, and this is getting to be fairly easy to do. We can create one for you if you like, but if you come in, go to create GPT and call it, my charter business, GPT, you can give it a short description, but the instructions are where it gets specific. And, we have some specific instructions we've given it about this, but this is where you could put things in like, make sure your content sounds like a charter captain would write, right? So you can give it very grainy, very specific things, keep sentences short and grounded, right? Not flowery. So you can give it instructions on how you like to communicate with people. So there's a whole set of instructions you can kind of use, and you can actually use ChatGPT to create these instructions. So you don't have to create them themselves, but what I'm suggesting is that you can keep it simple in this case and give it sort of basic instructions. And then you come down here to the knowledge base. And this is the part where, if you have a website, what you can do is just take your website content and copy and paste it into a Google Doc. You can take all of your content, copy and paste it, just literally right click on it, copy it, dump it into a Google Doc and save it. And you can use that as a knowledge base. And that way, when it goes to create content, it's going to have access to everything that's inside this knowledge base in terms of information about your business. It'd be nice if ChatGPT would scrape your website and kind of keep it current. Some AI tools do that. ChatGPT does not. So you have to create an uploaded file to do that, but that's called a knowledge base. And what the knowledge base is it's the part of, customization that allows the GPT to sound like you when it's creating content and when it's talking about things. And so what we have been doing is creating one of these for every single client we work with. That way they've got everything they need in here when they go to use the GPT to create content, that the content comes out. It sounds like you, it's built, it operates like you, and it gives you good usable output. And that's really kind of the best way to go about it. Now, the other kind of thing in this case is that if you're using this, if you get a good GPT and a good knowledge base, this is where, being able to move into AI and lead response systems comes into play. Because what we've been using this for is the fourth step in here is, having a good knowledge bank. Because that becomes usable in other AI applications, including our AI response system and that sort of stuff. So that's sort of the evolution of it, but you've got to get good at, if you're new to this or you're not sure, you haven't done it before, you've got to get good at analyzing what comes out. You just simply can't take it because it comes out and it looks accurate. I'm guilty of that. Everybody I've seen is guilty of that. I think it's just the curse of everybody being busy. But really training it and giving it feedback and telling it how you want it to behave is really critical if you want to get good stuff. Because I can tell you, just to go back to the beginning in this, this is not just like an academic exercise, like why you should do this because it's, inherently the right thing. This client decorated the boat, they paid a fee to enter on a boat parade, and then they ran this ad and got no response. And so they reached out, a day or two before the event in a panic because they had an empty boat. And, when we looked at it, this is part of the reason why, right? Because their marketing that they were doing for this is completely ineffective, even though it looked good, and so looking good and being effective are two different things. And so, we were able to get this revised with a more direct call to action, but this is what they're experiencing right here. I'll share this article with you, where it's got the, here, sorry, this all three versions of the same study that was done, but basically saying that, customers are really going to get pissed off at this point if the AI stuff doesn't look right and isn't good. So, it's not just doing it because it's fun, it's doing it because you're kind of using a tool, and you're shooting yourself in the foot with it. So it's not, we're not making a big deal of this for nothing. It's real. This is a good case study, which is why I wanted to kind of show you this for this example. So anyway, I hope this helps. What I want to offer at this point is that if you want help with kind of this part of it, where you want to learn about custom GPTs, develop a knowledge bank, or, begin using, like, and I'll add in here to step 5, you want to begin using for leads and bookings, that's where we can come in and help you with that, because these two things, we've got a fully developed system here for, AI to answer your text messages, answer your calls, answer your emails, and respond to that and do it. But it's got to be done having some training, custom GPT, and a knowledge bank. Otherwise, it's going to sound terrible and you're going to lose business. So don't try those out-of-box solutions on your own unless you've done that. But at a minimum, if you want to just start getting comfortable with AI, learn to read your output and begin training it, and that will give you better effectiveness, even just in the beginning if you're just using it for social posts or email or some website content or that sort of thing. Okay. All right, everybody. Hope this helps. Have a great rest of your day.